Welcome to the 2018 Vision Tank at the Embedded Vision Summit. My name's Dr. John Feland. I will be your moderator and gong banger during the duration of the evening tonight. We, through a rigorous process of evaluating 28 different startup companies that submitted to be on stage tonight, we've made it down to 5. Each of these 5 companies is going to have 3 minutes to absolutely dazzle you and our August panel of judges. During that time, they will try to talk about their technology, talk about their market, the whole 9 yards. They're going to be high speed, low drag. Then there's going to be 6 minutes for our judges to ask questions as we move through. Because at the end of the day, they're giving away the checks. But you as the audience will also have a chance to vote. There's also a People's Choice Award that will also be given out tonight. So pay attention, be excited. And the first thing I want to do is actually let the judges introduce themselves, and I'll start with Liz.
Thank you, Dr. John. So my name's Liz Gasser. I'm your mean English judge for the evening. I think that's why they invite me to this. It's all entirely about the accent.
Well, it balances out my southern accent.
It does, it really does.
You raise the IQ of the room.
So by way of introduction, I'm an independent consultant. I work with growth stage companies on market entry and market development strategies. Spent my career in the mobile field, initially with a company called OpenWave Systems, who was the inventor of mobile internet browsers back in the 90s. Spent the past 10 years at Qualcomm in a variety of roles, none of which touched our chip or licensing businesses. I spent my time working on our portfolio of businesses pursuing growth stage opportunities in media, mobile internet, in healthcare, in IoT. And I've been involved with the Vision Tank for the past 3 years. I always enjoy it. It's a great opportunity to see technology being applied in action.
And ask really tough questions. Vin.
Good afternoon, everybody, and Dr. John. I'm not the August judge, I'm the July judge. I was born on the 1st of July. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm between companies at this point, so if you've got an idea and you need an experienced executive, see me. But I've been the executive director for the Alliance since 2012, and I've had a variety of startups which you can read about on our webpage. And I'm looking forward to today's presentation. Thank you.
Great.
Okay, great. Hi, John. Thanks. So good afternoon, everyone. Arun Chhabra. I'm with a technology firm called 8tree. We are trying to disrupt the industrial inspection tool landscape by introducing 3D inspection tools. Our company has had the opportunity to be associated with the Alliance for the last 3-4 years, and we had the opportunity to actually be sitting in your seats 3 years ago. So I really admire you guys for making it up to this point, and congratulations. I think being here in itself is an accomplishment, and we're looking forward to a great set of pitches.
Great, thank you. And he's modest, they actually won the year he was on stage with this whole thing. So you see me holding a gong. It's not just for ego reasons, it's because when these guys go over, I'll be subtle at first. And then they continue to go over, and eventually to the point where we will actually have to mute the mics for everybody so we don't blow out the sound guys. So, sumo wrestlers, no. Although part of me may mimic a sumo wrestler, the rest of me does not. So, yeah, bikurishita, huh? Surprising, huh? Bet you didn't expect Japanese from the audience today. Anyway, without any further ado, we're gonna get started. Again, each team has 3 minutes to wow you. And so the first team that's gonna present today is actually, Anil's gonna come up and talk to us about Sturfee. And with that, you're the next contestant. Actually, you're the first contestant. There you go, sir. And we're ready to go.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anil Cheriyadat. I am the CEO and founder of Sturfee. Today's devices are designed to move along with us. They are designed to operate on streets, towns, and cities, providing you information. Devices ranging from smartphone cameras, drones, cars, and machines are designed to see and understand the local surroundings. These devices rely on these cameras to understand where they are on the street corner, how they are oriented, what kind of structures are around them, how are the structures, how tall are the structures, how far are the structures. All this location 3D information these devices rely on the cameras. Now, GPS cannot provide this information for these devices. So that's why, as a company, we built this unique service called as VPS, which stands for Visual Positioning Service. You can imagine VPS as an intelligent GPS service. So VPS is essentially an artificial intelligence system that is learning about the location on the ground from the cameras in the sky. Now, with this VPS system, any camera on the ground has a unique ability to understand what is looking around. So this is achieved by combining views from the satellite and the ground, very diverse views of the same location by using a very unique machine learning, deep learning technology. Now the cameras have the ability to understand what it is looking. Now with this VPS system, any camera inside the city can look at a scene and can have this 3D information that it requires to understand the surroundings. So with a VPS system, you can look at applications like augmented reality application, billion-dollar market augmented reality application, where the camera is able to produce the kind of experiences. For companies like Zillow, Yelp, and Foursquare, now this VPS-enabled camera provide the customers an ability to access and post information directly through cameras. So now the cameras become a unique visual channel to access and post information. Now, as a company, we are the first company in the world to release VPS in 10 cities. We have this VPS after several months of research and development. So we are working very closely with companies, businesses from smartphone manufacturing companies, which requires to enable their cameras this unique VPS capabilities, to companies like gaming companies. And this is achieved by this unique and diverse group of people having capabilities in satellite imaging, GPUs, deep learning, and camera calibration. All this a diverse group of people have come together to solve this very unique challenge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rock, paper, scissors for who goes first.
How do you make money? I'm a capitalist.
Sure. So we make money by providing this VPS service to companies that make cameras and camera-derived application. For example, a company like smartphone manufacturing company, like who wants to use this service, we provide as a revenue sharing model. We provide per device fee for enabling their camera to use our service. So just like GPS, any camera-derived application would require VPS to run the applications.
Okay.
So we have a revenue sharing model and a per device license fee. And for early developers, we provide API-based services.
Okay. So, yeah. So Anil, that's a good presentation. I'm curious, you had a pretty diverse list of potential customers, early adopters over there. How does your sales and business development strategy vary by customer profile? Can you comment on that?
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, we are working with a diverse set of businesses because this application we have built is very, very potential for a large array of application. So for a manufacturing company, like a smartphone manufacturing company like Samsung and Huawei, we provide them a per device fee for putting this VPS on the camera. For a company like a gaming company like Niantic Labs, we run a revenue sharing model. So based on how much revenue they make out of this application, they share it with us. But the point is the VPS becomes a very critical infrastructure for the next generation camera-enabled applications.
Okay, thanks for the presentation. Nicely done. In terms of things I like, the scope and the boldness of the vision is there. I like the tie-in to the satellite side. However, in terms of tracking to what you're actually offering to customers, it's still a little bit unclear for me because in many ways the use cases you described, while GPS is not perfect for them, it is adequate for many. And there are vision applications out there today that are not using satellite imagery to achieve many of the same things you demonstrated in the presentation. So could you talk a little bit more about what you see as the differentiating aspect of your service?
Yeah. So as you can see right now, any kind of location-based application is relying on GPS. And GPS, as I mentioned, GPS has its own challenges. It's not accurate, and it cannot provide you the kind of in 3D local information this camera requires to just run the next wave of applications. So to your question of the scale of applications, right? So the question was what type of application that will be enabled by VPS.
Well, where do you see your capability being truly differentiating with applications? Because, as I
so
say, many can be served by technology available today.
Augmented reality is one first market which is awaiting for such a technology, because augmented reality is about augmenting the world. Without understanding the local 3D world, you cannot augment. So GPS is not providing the local surroundings, the 3D information. So the most important market is augmented reality market. Without such a service, augmented reality market cannot meet the market expectations. So a lot of companies are awaiting for such a service to come into the market.
Okay, so it's almost a quality enhancer for companies aspiring to use
it. It's experience that can deliver to cameras.
So to anchor that a little bit, how would you transform Pokemon Go using your technology to kind of tie it into, because I think that what I'm hearing from a lot of the judges is we've seen demonstrated other technologies that do similar things than what you demonstrated. Is there higher resolution? Is it higher accuracy? Is it a lower footprint on the handset? What are those kind of key differences?
So there are a few things. So there are a few things. So the lower footprint of the handset, because we do a lot of things on the cloud. So that enables your handset to have a low battery usage. We don't have to use much GPS. We can still use the VPS to provide the phone the ability to understand the local surrounding. So to answer your question, the ability, imagine the ability for Pokemon to interact with the surrounding. It can climb up the walls of the building. It can go inside the building. This all requires an understanding of this local surrounding. So that is why the Pokemon is still floating in the air. If you look at the application, so the next level of application, the Niantic is trying to release the Harry Potter. So the next level of application, it requires a clear understanding and interaction with the local surrounding. And without the VPS technology, this is not possible. So that's why the market is awaiting for such a technology.
So how does it work indoors?
So we don't do indoors. Right now, everything is focused on outdoors.
Okay.
But as we expand, we can come into indoors, but the same technology. But right now, it is focused on proving or solving the problem for outdoors. That's why we rely on the satellite imagery to do this.
Okay, and so just two questions, Anil. So first of all, I think as Liz mentioned, this is a pretty ambitious setup, right? You're essentially laying the plumbing or the infrastructure for the next wave of applications.
Exactly.
Two questions after listening to your pitch. Is VPS a proprietary Sturfee thing, or is it, since you said that you're the first to roll out VPS intensities or so, is it a standard that others will be deploying as well?
There are companies that are trying to do this, the same VPS technology in a different way. Our innovation is how we are using this satellite imagery, giving us the ability to do this VPS at a country scale. So we have an ambition to put this VPS infrastructure for the entire United States so that any camera inside this country can look up and have this 3D understanding and provide the application.
And so the second quick follow-up question is, so have you heard of Metaio? About 5-6 years ago, they were acquired by Apple.
Apple, yes.
And so going back about 6 years ago, they were demonstrating AR on your handset in a city setting. So how distinctly different is your approach than what they were delivering at that time?
Yeah, so the main difference is we have looked at this solution. Now, all the previous solution were trying to do bottom up. That means you're trying to understand the street from two different views and trying to understand. We are the only and the first company trying to solve this from top down by looking the whole country and the city from the top and using that information to provide the cameras. So this is a very, very different, and as I mentioned, no other company is doing it this way or solving the problem this way actually.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up we heard from is João from AiFi. It's going to AiFi, AiFi, potato. Anyway, they're going to do some great things to transform retail. After you.
Hi everyone, my name is João Diogo Falcão and I'm the Director of Product for AiFi. At AiFi, we're bringing artificial intelligence to the retail space. And we're starting by addressing three main concerns. Most of you probably don't like waiting in lines. And it's estimated that 37 billion hours are spent by Americans each year just waiting in lines. Second, there's a $1.1 trillion opportunity in the cost associated with overstocking and understocking globally. And third, in-store customer data is still largely done offline. So at AiFi, we're building the checkout-free solution for the next generation of stores. How does this work? The customers download an app, they scan to get in, and then they shop like they would in any other store. As they leave, they're charged by all the items they picked up. From a technology standpoint, we install a smart camera network and a smart sensor network throughout the store, and we leverage our highly advanced AI algorithms to build a smart virtual cart. This virtual cart follows the customer from entry to exit, being updated as they interact with the store. This gives us automatic checkout and real-time shelf inventory, and which solves the 1.1 trillion problem, and the customer behavior analytics are now done online. Well, since Amazon Go has opened their stores in Seattle, many players have shifted into this market. Now, why are we special? Well, we've leveraged and invested a lot into simulation technology, not only to train our algorithms, but also to test and deploy into massive scales. This allowed us to partner with one of the US largest retailers to deploy the technology into a 50,000 square foot store. You'll hear more about this by the end of the year. And finally, our technology is all run on edge. This means local to the store in terms of data, low power, and low bandwidth to the cloud, as well as lower cost. This is an example of a simulated store which was randomly generated for the purpose of training as well as testing and deploying. We also have a fully functional lab store where our researchers and engineers deploy the latest and greatest in AI and sensor fusion technology. We're 25 and growing. We have people coming from Google, Apple, Microsoft. We've got PhDs from Carnegie Mellon, Duke University. We've got world champions in coding competitions. Ultimately, we're all hackers by heart. We're bringing AI to retail once and for all. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right.
Nicely done, thank you. In terms of things I really liked about the pitch, the statement of the problem was crisp. I mean, you had some really good metrics, great customer validation evidence of why the world needs this. Would like to see a little bit more in there about your actual business model, monetization method, commercial model. So if you could talk to that a little bit, I'd be appreciative. And while I have the mic, I'll throw one more question in there. Sure. There's a big human element here, right? This is a notoriously hard problem. It's a use case that's been around for quite a while. And so I guess, is there an equivalent to miles driven that you are kind of tracking and measuring to kind of evidence to yourself that you're actually making progress with, you know, really understanding the human dynamics and interactions here? So, compound question.
Okay, so let's start with the first one. It's more of the business side of things. As we partner up with these big chains and looking at other clients from small, all of the range, there's a cost associated with deployment. Our business model is a yearly fee that we charge the customers and an initial cost of deployment. As for the human aspect, it's very interesting to see that you've got very different approaches even from the retailers. And we're, instead of imposing our approach, we are more listening to what they tell us. They know their customers. Some people don't want a full checkout store. They want faster lanes because they don't want to disrupt the way people shop. Some people want, like Amazon, a completely manless store where you can just come in and out. So our approach is more liberal in the sense that we can deploy to all of these and provide the fast checkout. We provide APIs and the infrastructure, but ultimately the payment systems we integrate with their payment systems. Okay,
got it. Does your system measure the stocking as products are going onto the shelf, as well as the removal from the shelf?
Exactly. A real-time inventory system is something that is a big part of our solution. We not only use the visual space, which is a big part of it, but we have sensors throughout the store that allow us to really know what is in the shelves at what point, and to raise alerts to the stores to be able to stock and predict whether something is being consumed very fast, for example.
Cool, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, again, building on what Liz had to say, I think a better reasoned analysis of the ROI, because retail obviously operates at extremely thin margins, and people are closing stores left and right. So the question is, how is this going to prevent that, or maybe improve the margins on what they have already? So some kind of analysis that shows what the upfront cost investment is, not just for the equipment, but for the infrastructure to support it. I have a CVS app, and I try to use it every time I go into CVS, and their Wi-Fi is so crappy in the store that I can never use it. So I just use Apple Pay when I want to check out. So I think you need to think a little bit more about, how you're going to get people to drink from this well. And also, back to Liz's point, some people don't want to go through this process. So I think you need to be able to sell the customers on the value of doing this. And I think if you're buying one item in Nordstrom's, that's one thing. But if you're trying to check out at a CVS on a Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock, this could be really attractive.
I can address some of those comments.
Go ahead.
There's a diversity of implementations that were not shown for the sake of time. But as I said, some of the customers do prefer, in this example you saw a check-in, no check-out. But some customers prefer, I don't want to create a barrier for people to come in, but I'd rather have a lane where once they come out, they have a faster lane. So we can have points of sale where as they approach, they see the full list and they come out.
You said, I think during the run-through, that you've already outfitted a 50,000 square foot store to do this. What did it cost?
Well, this is under an NDA. We'll be able to.
But order of, what kind of ballpark?
So what I can say is, on average, these stores run on 2.53% shrinkage, which is loss per stealing or dropping or something. And we're maintaining our cost within that margin by reducing their shrinkage so that we can leverage some of that.
Good answer, yeah.
Thanks.
Great. So thanks for the presentation. I think Liz and Vin have already captured a lot of what I had in mind. I do like the fact that you're seeking to basically enable an alternative to a much hyped but single chain solution. The question that I have is, maybe a couple of questions. First off, the sensor network that you're deploying, is that the only infrastructure modification to an existing store, or do you require every SKU coming into the store to be tagged in a unique way so that your embedded sensors can read them? How unique is your infrastructure deployment?
So again, depends on the store. So most grocery stores that we're addressing initially, it's the store infrastructure. But if you think of stores that sell clothing, it's a very challenging problem for computer vision. So as an initial approach, we start by putting our RFID tags into those. So in the grocery space, we can tackle most of the infrastructure in the store. But this is a case-by-case scenario where we expand the modularity of the system. So ultimately, our goal is to build your own store kind of environment. The customer comes in, I can do a food court, I can do a store clothing, and then they have their solution, they have their cost analysis.
So then tying it back to what you responded to Vin to earlier, is that it almost sounds like it would be more cost effective as new stores are coming up to deploy this as opposed to retrofitting existing stores in the long run?
For the problems which computer vision is lacking right now, yes. For the stores that are addressing common use case like 7-Eleven case or convenience stores, those can be retrofitted very easily.
And so just last question here. So every item that needs to be re-tagged in the store to coexist with your ecosystem, is that essentially part of then your business model of the upfront cost to the customer for deploying it?
Yeah, it's not AiFi's role. We provide the customer what items can we track and what is necessary for those items to be tracked. We don't do the retrofitting of the items themselves for the store.
You do the monitoring then?
We do the monitoring.
Got it. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Fantastic. Please give him a hand.
Thank you very much.
And And our next presenter is Dan Connors from Boulder AI, which we're going to talk about something completely different.
Thank you. My name is Dan Connors, and with Darren Odom, we are from Boulder, Colorado, and we are Boulder AI. And what we understand about enabling vision, AI vision for everyone, is that there is going to be a mass of developers that want to be in the vision space, from the hobbyist to the small venture company, and we wanted to enable them. But there are a number of obstacles to their development. First, it is a very complex and rapidly changing space that we are in, from frameworks to pathways and solutions. So that is a problem for developers to overcome. It's also a question of how much high performance can actually be enabled to really create an edge solution and not a combination of video analytics being sent back to the cloud. So we developed a framework, a platform that its goal is to cut the cost as well as the development time for deep neural networks. Most of the time, people are wanting to do some form of information to data exchange. They have information in a smart city, from tracking cars or people to just raw counts. So that is one aspect from the technology perspective. But we see them going further the next step. So rather than just count cars, it's license plates, it's vehicle make and model when we're talking about vehicles. And this is one of our cameras deployed. The Smart Cow has a deal with us to deploy our cameras. Their solution is deployed. Deep Vision AI, which does face tracking, demographics. This is running on the edge scenario. So this is not just face detection. This is doing models on top of face detection, demographics, gender and age, as well as then face verification. So we see the first generation from going on the left-hand side, population count or people counting, to really doing live gesture tracking. And what that means to us is if we can enable that at the edge, we have a hope for doing an edge solution that can do threat detection in schools. So if we see somebody armed with a weapon from 200 meters away, we can detect that, as well as an ATM fraud. If somebody's installing a skimmer on top of an ATM device, that's the technology that we need. So how do we do that? The DNN camera is a GPU enabled. It has an NVIDIA TX2 platform, 1.5 teraflops embedded in our device, has modular stackable cards, as far as for communication. But in addition to that raw power, we've really enabled this platform as a service we call Vision as a Service, because we want to take a developer from the endpoint at the edge, deploy their model to collect data in the cloud platform. And whether it's Google, Amazon, or Microsoft Azure, we have solutions that can detect a model out here, and this is the wrench model that you might have seen this week as far as 3D body tracking. So that is our goal, is to really enable, and if you're ready, we're ready. We have devices ready if you visit our website.
Great, fantastic. Thank you, Dan.
Can I give this to the judges?
Oh, you give that to the judges, but yeah.
Don't
We
take
like-
it home.
I mean, I don't know if it's a parting gift or not,
Always
you know.
good.
Great.
Show and tell.
Dan, thanks for the presentation. I really like the focus of your company of gathering information from challenging environments. I was curious of a few things. So first off, can you elaborate a little bit more on the business model? You've mentioned you have some vision as a service model. How else do you make money?
So all the way from, if you want cameras, if you have a certain quantity, we're willing to, at this point, as the startup venture, to go into agreements where we give you raw cameras, but we really think we've enabled solutions that exist on the camera device, and that really means taking a model that you might have in the case of Deep Vision or Smart Cow, but actually enabling that for the edge. So our Edge SDK allows a model to be deployed where the frequency of updates being sent out to a cloud platform, and it doesn't have to be one of the existing cloud hosting environments. It can be your own on-premise environment, but we've enabled both sides of that. So with there's a service model that says number of cameras out there, a licensing fee per camera and for the solution.
So you've got the vision as a service on a customer's camera network, or it could be on your camera network. Did I capture that correctly?
Currently, as far as our camera network, we deploy experimental models out there, so tracking for different cases. But right now, we are having other people's deploy their cameras. So we're not an integrator solution. So in the case of Smart Cow, they are they enabled that for a smart city.
Okay, great. And so long term, as you look at these multiple revenue streams that you're targeting, how would you prioritize them and why?
Yeah, that's exactly why we even set out to do the platform model. There were so many verticals that could be enabled. We get, and even some of the customers that have come to us with different varying stages where they actually want us to help them develop the model. And they're in various stages, being from they haven't collected data versus sometimes they have the data, sometimes they have the model. So we are seeing all extremes. We're focusing right now on building a very substantial platform and not taking on those other concepts of consulting and bringing them up, bootstrapping them.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah.
So nice job. I really do like the idea of changing it up on the business model and trying to take infrastructure and platformize it more broadly. So appreciated the back and forth on that topic there. I'm going to take it in a slightly different tack. I've been doing a decent amount of work in the smart city space lately, and clearly cameras are a critical part of city infrastructure and feature in many of the use cases that we're talking about. The one question I have for you, though, is that in every public forum that I've been to, privacy and personal information are just, they're lightning rods for discussion. And so my question to you is, how are you addressing the concerns of the city, and what types of privacy models are you adopting?
Yeah, so directly within the smart city, if we just restrict it to that conversation as far as for privacy, a lot of what we've had to do is enable on the device so that the device is secure, just like any computer system these days. So that is an added element, because what we are now capturing is a visual sense versus just data sense, and is largely unregulated. As far as if you look at health data being governed by HIPAA, there's very limited governance in terms of what somebody can do with a public webcam. So that is something that we've had to work with when we talk to smart city applications to say what is eligible as far as device access from user groups within their own corporation or the municipal.
Are you getting a lot of pressure to essentially dump the data at the edge and just send events back?
We are, and there's even specialized models that really are for private environments. So while this is one form factor, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to change slides and go.
You got it depends.
See what happens.
Another 17. Maybe not.
I don't think I included that in there, don't worry. But in terms of other environments, we are working on devices that would be a visual Alexa that allows you to have never captured video of a person, meaning from the visual light, but actually do a body frame analysis. So in the case of banks are wanting to secure that their vaults always have 2 people enter into the system at the same time. In terms of doctors' offices and massage stores, they want to be able to track without invading the privacy. So we've come up with implementations that don't ever actually render the video sequence into a data form that could be captured out. So there's a lot of opportunities out there.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good answer. I was intrigued by the fact that this is a pretty rugged piece of kit.
It is. Yeah.
And I think in your application you said you're counting or analyzing coffee beans in Africa or Brazil somewhere. So, there are a lot of people making cameras. What makes you unique in terms of this assembly?
So that assembly, as far as unique from others, is that there is, within a box, a high-performance computer inside that system. So it's a full ecosystem that you can deploy. So I don't know if you want me to answer on the coffee side, that Bext 360 Coffee is one that they have an agreement with us for our cameras and our models for actually detecting coffee cherries at the point of sorting. So this would enable farmers and pickers to derive information right there about the quality of coffee. And so we sort into different cupping scores as far as the different score alignment. But it's a very rugged environment. They are moving these machines in and out of different locations on the farm. So those have to be a very durable system.
And this is IP67 waterproof?
Yes.
Yeah, I could use this on my boat. What's it cost?
So in terms of quantity, if you were just looking at camera and not the vision as a service model, and you can go to our website for more pricing, for at quantity of 1,000, we'd go under $2,000, $1,999.
Great. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Take
All right.
the camera back.
Can I have it?
So many amazing things that we're hearing about today in terms of where, especially where we were, 2 or 3 years ago, the evolution, maturity of the concepts we're seeing as they go to market is just fantastic. So, yeah, next we're going to hear from Carlo about what they're doing at Aquifi.
Hello everyone, I'm Carlo from Aquifi. So our goal is to reduce error and bottlenecks in manufacturing and logistics application. In particular, we want to deliver sizing of objects, identification, and defects and anomaly detection. I don't know if you order Amazon boxes, sometimes they come with a very large box and a very small object. That's a waste of space and the cost for a truck. If you, let's say, sometimes you get the wrong objects, or sometimes it has defects. We want to eliminate all those processes at the source of those errors. We do that by having a unique combination of 3D and deep learning techniques that we have patented. Driving factors for our growth are Industry 4.0 manufacturing automation trend that wants to deliver always more automated manufacturing, as well as fast delivery, same-day delivery, especially in e-commerce. Market value that has been, let's say, sized in 2014 was $90 billion and is estimated to be $150 billion by 2020. So our solution has two aspects, a software and a hardware component. The hardware component is a depth sensor that we have developed that has a processor on board as well. And it has two form factors. One is an IoT device that can be used in a constellation, so multiple devices over one conveyor belt. And one is a handheld form factor. With these devices, we compute a 3D model of an object with associated color. And from there, we apply our deep learning algorithms to provide size identification and defect and anomaly detection. We have shown that the joint utilization of 3D and color for deep learning allows to get models that have better accuracy and less training samples. So we can get all the way to the 99.9% defect detection, allowing to scaling among different customers without too much customization. Our business model has Endeavor, our let's say library is sold as a service with a monthly fee. Discovery, that is our handheld device, is sold for $2,000 to $3,000 MSRP. Is going to be sold next quarter. Constellation, that is our set of IoT devices, is included in the service fee. We have two manufacturing deployments ongoing, one in automotive, one in consumer goods, and the logistics is coming up next quarter. And we can do that only thanks to our amazing team of more than 30 people with 300 patents, 6,000 Google Scholar citation, and past successful exits.
Great. Fantastic.
Thank you.
I like the camera system. It's pretty cool. I'm a little fuzzy on the image analysis, the image recognition, and is that really the responsibility of the company that's deploying this, or do you provide that capability as well?
We provide that capability. We provide the capability to train the system as they train an operator on the line. Yes, exactly.
5 feet 8 inches, right? 5 feet 9.
It sees a defect, by the way.
See, there are plenty. So yes, we provide them the capability to train the system as they train a normal operator. And that's what we are going to provide more and more is the capability to train the system in time as well with reinforcement learning type of techniques.
Nice job. Got an impressive team there. So it's great always good to hear about the team behind the products. Again, I like the innovation that's going on with the business models in the pitches this evening. It's fun to see more creative approaches to monetizing hardware. Questions I have really are about the degree of customization required when you implement and how that scales for you as a business.
Yes, that's actually, I would say, one of the biggest point for us. Right now, we are at the point where we are customizing a lot, but we are also developing techniques for, let's see, removing this customization layer. And those techniques are based on, especially for the defect side, towards anomaly detection with generative models. So you don't need to know what is a defect, but you need to know what is a good appearance for the object. And since hopefully you don't see that many objects with defects, you can provide a statistic analysis to understand what a good object is. So on average is a good object. And that combined with some active and reinforcement learning, so putting people in the loop that can, let's say, get the output of the system that has kind of been trained and refine that, provide feedback that allows the system to kind of be trained in time.
Okay, that's helpful. Just a quick follow-on question. How do you have you contemplated integrating into the product creation workflow itself, maybe working with Autodesk, PTC type CAD systems as an input?
Yes, especially the handheld version, we're contemplating that. I would say for now we want to focus more on delivering the sizing, defects, and identification, because it's something that customers are asking. But some of them, for instance, they would like to check how the 3D model of the object that is being manufactured matches the CAD model. So we are going to provide that in the future. The technology is there underlying. Sometimes getting a very good 3D reconstruction in terms of look is very hard to get, while it can be precise enough, let's say, for our analysis. So it's a little harder.
It's a hard problem. Cool, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I really liked your online video showing the box dimensions, the U-Haul boxes, you point and you click. So a couple of questions about this. So this is the discovery, and does the constellation that you showed works with the Endeavor cloud processing? Does this also rely on that processing ecosystem, or is this completely self-contained and in operation?
It is completely self-contained, only for, let's say, the sizing part.
Okay.
The deep learning part, we have a version that runs on that device, is a little too slow right now.
Okay.
And for that we require cloud. There is a Wi-Fi integrated in that one. So.
Okay. And so the next couple of questions are, so how does the constellation network differ or benefit customers more than, let's say, a traditional laser line scanner?
Yes, that's a very good point. So a laser line scanner, you get basically the red curve. That is what 3D can deliver. We also have a color camera, and we can combine the two to get the yellow. Then the next question is, why are you better than a laser scanner plus a color camera? And there, I think for a bunch of things, we are comparable. For some other in which we need larger areas, for instance, this system can deliver up to the size of more or less of a pallet, while laser scanners are much smaller usually.
John, do I have time for one last question over here? So you mentioned a sort of a dual focus, industrial deployment, some early proof of concept, and then logistics, right?
Yes.
I would suggest, if you haven't already, to look long and hard at that industrial environment and see how it fits your appetite as a company, because gestation cycles, acceptance cycles in industrial environments are not months, they're years. And have you given consideration to that?
Yes. So the idea is we are deploying already, let's say, our constellation in a couple of sites, and we have seen that it is slower than actually you think and you hope it is.
Concept or deployment, production deployment?
Production deployment.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Okay. So the proof of concept were about a year ago, and it takes about a year then to get the final deployment. In the wild, we want to address, let's say, the early life of, let's say, our sales cycles with the handheld. That is a faster sales cycle, and it's going to be out for sale sometimes in Q3, Q4 this year. So.
Okay. The last portion of this is, so in that logistics environment, what kind of, have you explored any kind of price volume elasticity? If you were to deploy, at a certain price point, would your volume shoot up at the local UPS store? Or?
Yes, so we can definitely lower the price for big volumes, and all the technology inside there is consumer grade technologies, both from the cameras, the processor, the touch screen. It's basically a tablet, just in a different shape, and the cameras are all very cheap, like $2 sensors.
Okay, but has the market demonstrated that there is greater volume potential if you went in that direction?
There is, let's say, always pending for, let's say, the big order coming, but there are a possibility, for instance, to deploy at every UPS store, for instance.
Okay,
that's
great.
pretty big.
Thank you. I'll keep it. Thanks.
Very much.
Thank you.
Well done. Can I get the? All right. Now we're going from inspecting manufacturing to inspecting our grandparents. So, Deepak, there you go.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Deepak with VirtuSense Technologies. How many of the people in the room had loved ones that fell and get injured? 1 in 3 seniors fall, and it costs over $80 billion for healthcare systems. After a fall, seniors experience significant deterioration in their quality of life. My grandmother was 68 years old on the way to bank. She fell, broke her hip. Within 10 days after the fall, she passed away. And I took it as a mission to reduce falls and help seniors age happily in their current environments. At VirtuSense, we use machine learning and machine vision to figure out who is at fall risk by predicting and preventing falls. So we have our technology in over 150 healthcare institutions across the country. So every 11 seconds, a senior is admitted to an emergency room as a result of a fall. And unfortunately, all these seniors are diagnosed as fall risk after they fall, and we want to change that. There are over 1 million falls that happen inside the hospitals, and it's pretty hard to really solve this problem. They even have sitters 24/7 staring at people to make sure they don't fall in hospitals. And of course, our loved ones, our grandparents and older moms, they want to make sure they're doing good, and we put cameras in their houses, and we are pretty much breaching their privacy. So what are these people looking for? Seniors, therapists, physicians, they're looking for solutions that are quick and can automatically detect and identify deficit and provide a clinical pathway in an automated fashion to actually fix them. And they want it to integrate with the electronic medical records so that it becomes easy for them to take care of patients. So VirtuSense is a platform technology that is used across the continuum of care. We have 3 core products. VST Balance is an assessment system that identifies people who have musculoskeletal and sensory issues using evidence-based standardized testing. VST Alert is an in-room solution that reconstructs the whole room in 3D, and when a patient gets away from the bed, tries to get from the bed, it sends an alarm on the phone where this nurse can talk with the patient and avoid a fall. VST Home is an in-home solution that tracks activities of daily living, makes sure your grandma is eating, taking medication. If she falls, it detects it even better. Even before she falls, it identifies her as a risk and provides help so that they can address her before she gets into an ER. So our technology is used by hospitals, long-term care companies, and home health providers across the country. And we sell our product as a subscription service. And we are actually saving lives and helping people age well. Thank you.
Just not getting to use the gong enough, I tell you.
Make yourself happy.
We'll do that at the end. It's a
Contest it.
celebration, right?
Deepak, great presentation and good. I mean, it's a noble cause and focus that you're working on. 2 questions come to mind. How did you determine your pricing for the market? I mean, you've clearly already built a very good business based on some of the application materials. You've got customer deployments across the board. What was the thought process and analysis that went into figuring out how you price your service?
So initially starting, we just tried to see what sticks. And we heard from our customers. And pretty soon we learned, what are the value props. Within the first year, we figured out, we need to figure out, how they can make money, how they can reduce costs, and how we can help them improve their business. And today we hit all three of them. And our ROIs are close to 100 to 120% per every single site per month.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
So again, Arun's point, it's not clear what it costs to deploy this at each level of service. Whether it's in the hospital, whether it's in the home, or whether it's in the rehabilitation center. Can you talk a little bit about what the cost is to do that and
Sure.
what the ROI looks like
Sure.
in each of those cases
Sure.
and kind of tie that back to where you see the opportunity?
Exactly. So our first product, VST Balance, currently we sell for $1,200 a month with a 2-year subscription, or $1,100 for a 3-year subscription. And our ROI is basically a lot of facilities see 50% reduction in falls and falls with injuries, which is close to $20,000 per year actually. And you're talking 5 to 10 falls reduced per facility. And we are seeing higher reimbursement because our technology qualifies for a new reimbursement code, which gives a couple of $100 for every Medicare Part B patient. And we provide objective outcomes, which actually helps all these long-term care and hospitals to actually demonstrate outcomes objectively, because of which they're in the preferred list of providers. The long-term care is in the preferred list of providers for ACOs, and the ACOs are in the preferred list for Medicare. So everyone, is having a good win proposition, right from the patient, the person, the higher provider, as well as the administrators and the management. So the second product, VST Alert, we are actually getting it to the market this year. So we're currently doing a paid beta testing in a bunch of hospital systems. And we've seen significant amount of reduction in falls in the hospitals. And the most important thing is annoying sounds, beeping sounds that keep on going and drives patients crazy, even nurses crazy. They have such a fatigue. We eliminated all that by communicating it on the smartphone and crystal clear, simple communication. And we charge a few hundreds of dollars per month for that model. And eventually for the home, we are actually beta testing this in independent living communities today. And our price point is around $100 a month. So 3 sensors, living room, kitchen, and bedroom. And we're trying to make it palpable to the market. So we're going to be doing some price sensitive testing. We already have an order. We're not ready to deploy, but we have an order for 600 independent living communities in Iowa to put it across their places. Thank you.
Building on that, very, very impressive commercial traction so far, and you're clearly very passionate on the topic. It shows in your pitch. In terms of the home deployment piece of this, one of the hardest things to change is human behavior, right? And certainly, I think many of us with elderly relatives will know that they can be fiercely independent, and so the idea of a camera in your home tracking your movements may not be that acceptable. And so what are you doing to test and validate in that area, and how are you building privacy models that can overcome those concerns?
Really great question, because that's our struggle from day one. We tried to figure out an answer, and we did actually. So what we do is actually we never ever transmit or record a single image. So everything is processed on the fly. And what we do is we just take an infrared image. We don't even use visual spectrum. So what happens is, everyone looks like a giant blob. And it doesn't differentiate between if you're wearing clothes, not wearing clothes, if your skin color, nothing. And basically, we just only transmit cryptic messages back to the cloud, and the AI sits on the cloud and figures out my grandma wakes up at 7 a.m., it's been 9 o'clock, and she didn't wake up yet. So sends a alert to the family and to the care provider. If she used the restroom 6 times last night and her norm is only waking up once, so it basically sends to the home health and just for someone to come and intervene. So what we're seeing is, when 10 years back, everyone hated the idea of feds wiretapping into phones. Today we buy Alexa and put it in our home, and we're happy about it. Things are changing. So people are going to people are going to adapt this technology because it's going to help them in the long run. How many seniors have money to spend $70,000, $80,000 in assisted living once they turn old? And we are trying to help them age well in their home at a fraction of a cost and using technology to get there.
Very fair answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions?
All right, thank you so much. Well done. Now we're at the part where you have to work, and the judges do too. So the judges are going to take the next few minutes to sort of vote on who they think is the number one and gets the number one prize, which I believe is a $5,000 check, as well as a year membership to the Embedded Vision Alliance. And you will be determining the second prize, the People's Choice Prize, which is also a membership to the Embedded Vision Alliance. So the way that's going to work is we're going to vote by texting. In the past, we've used a well-calibrated sound meter, my arm. Now we're getting legitimate. We're going to be able to track and keep those votes for prosperity. We're actually talking to the Library of Congress. No, I'm kidding. Jeff's not talking to the Library of Congress about this. But the idea here is that either go to the website or text to these voting codes. And so sort of get to the site you want to, sort of pick the overall piece. When we go to the next slide, what you're going to see is real-time votes coming in, and you'll see the codes as well. But if you're going to go and do something, check out that site. So you can either text or you can go to the actual poll itself, the SMS poll. So give you a couple minutes to kind of make that selection, and then we'll start shifting over to the real-time piece. If anyone has a botnet set up, let us know now so we can kind of calibrate based on that voting piece. The nice thing about this is that there's no hanging chads, and we're not in Florida. So again, also this whole notion of one vote per person, please don't just ping, 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 ping. We're kind of trusting you guys here. You know, these are high stakes. We're talking about the future of a membership. So let's see how this comes out. Oh, wow. All right, we're getting votes. Real time. Seeing this, it's kind of fun. Kind of the race here. And part of what we're seeing right now as a trend is that, you know what, people love their grandparents. I think next year I want to see if I can come up with a kitten-based vision testing system. Because how can you say, I mean, it's like, you know, do you care about your grandparents? Well, I didn't get a cookie that one time. But the cool thing is that we had these great companies. All of them have really compelling ideas, really compelling solutions. That's one of the things I love about the community around the Embedded Vision Alliance. And the summit itself is a chance to celebrate all the cool things that people are doing. And as you've seen the devices and technology mature over the years, I remember going to an Alliance meeting, and we started talking about this thing called CNN. And we're like, wait, you mean the Clinton News Network? No. Convolutional neural nets. Oh. And now it's everywhere. And so the great thing about being involved in this community is the ability to kind of touch the future and be involved in shaping it to something that we want to see. Okay, all right, we're going to cut off voting right there. We have a number 2, we have a number 1. Judges, do you have a number 1?
We do, yeah. I do have to say, though, everyone did a fantastic job, and it was actually really hard this year.
Can you guys get them
big round of applause for everyone, please. Now, there are some years we do this where we go back and go, well, there's a clear last and a very clear first, and it feels obvious, but we actually had a reasonable amount of back and forth back there. How do you want me to do this? 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. Just give you a top one. We've got a 3. We've got a 1, 2, 3. Maybe I'll just start with.
Yeah. Let's do that. Kind of builds the suspense, right? We'll do a 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Who was number 3?
All right. So, in terms.
Somebody said something to their cousin, didn't you? I have cousins in Boulder, actually.
In terms of what we were looking for, we were very much focused on clarity of the value proposition, capacity to scale the business, and robustness of some of the more of the answers to some of our more detailed questions about how this is actually going to work for customers. So in that vein, we ended up with a third spot going to the AiFi team. I think we respected the ambition of the problem being solved there. and the value it can bring to supermarkets. However, we felt it was probably still a bit earlier in its proving than a couple of the other companies that were in our top 3. So that was our number 3 spot.
Okay.
Number 2 spot for us was Aquifi. In large part based on just the very focused problem solving that you were doing for the industrial segment. Obviously a lot to address in making that scale commercially and making it truly a valuable product offering within the industrial community, but we could see the potential in that value chain. And without further ado, I think our number 1 spot was the same as the audience, VirtuSense. A lot of passion going into that solution.
Fantastic.
A lot of respect for the commercial traction you've achieved and some really crisp answers on some of the more problematic areas that we saw for scaling into the consumer space. So well done. Good job.
Great.
Congrats to everyone.
Congratulations. So what that means is that you, the audience, are yes. When the wisdom of the crowd validates the judges, that's a good day. So that means also because we have a tie for in both cases, Boulder AI is the audience's choices for as well. So congratulations, Boulder AI. Thank you. And I believe, Jeff, that's a wrap. Yeah, please, actually, can we get all the finalists up on stage? We're going to do kind of a group hug is a kind of a loose term we use in California.
And you can dismiss the audience and thank them very much.
Yes, and audience, thank you so much for coming. And that's a wrap for the overall event, right? So thank you so much for attending this year, and we'll see you next year. Thank you. Have a great night and travel safe.